See if this works.
How's it going?
Going okay. I'm just getting fold.it open now. You're probably a little bit quiet, but I can fix it on my end. It's nothing you need to worry about.
I'm quiet?
No, you're fine. I can hear you typing.
Oh, yeah, I should probably not touch my keyboard.
Okay. All right, and I have to resize this. So we're gonna play Fold It. We've got a couple. Would you two like to introduce yourselves? We've got a scientist and a programmer with the Fold It team, and it's a program where you can basically try to fold proteins to. Well, it's like a game and sort of fun by itself, but also you can potentially do practical things with them, with like medical or so forth applications.
Yeah. So, hello, chat. Agbomosho to you. My name is Josh. I am one of the game designers of Fold It. And I'm a PhD student up in Boston. And that's it for me. Brian?
Wait, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I'm BKEP. I'm a scientist. I'm a biochemist at the Institute for Protein Design. My background is all about proteins and kind of the science behind Fold It. Yeah.
Sweet. I am just getting everything set up on stream. There's all sorts of stuff to edit and change the title and change the game. Okay. And so I walked through the tutorialized content for this 2 days ago now, I think. I mostly remember what's going on. And so we do there are 38 intro puzzles, of which I did 15, and those sort of teach you the controls. And then there are the more difficult science puzzles, and these are set up sort of like tournaments where people have a certain time limit and they compete to get the highest score. And then if somebody gets a really high score on one of these puzzles, it may even get looked at by somebody in a lab who's looking to build some sort of protein to do something or other. So right now, the coronavirus has an intermediate thing going on and an easy thing going on, beginner thing going on. I think we were going to look at the beginner one.
Yeah, let's definitely start on the beginner side of things.
For sure.
So, Brian, do you want to say a little bit about what the process is with Fold It and how exactly playing this game is helping? How it gets to the lab?
Sure. So the premise of Fold It is that you can fold up new proteins. So there are lots of natural proteins. Well, pretty much all of biology is mediated by natural proteins, and these are things that break down sugars and proteins to give you energy. When your muscles contract, that's proteins changing shape. When a virus infects a cell, that's mediated by proteins, which recognize each other on the human cell and the virus. And then once that recognition takes place, those proteins can change shape and allow the virus particle to infect the human cell. So proteins are all over. We would like to design new proteins to do cool stuff. For instance, to block this recognition sequence between a virus particle and a human cell. So that's what we're looking at here in the recent Fold It puzzles. Is we're asking Fold It players to design a new protein that could potentially coronavirus spike protein and block its recognition of human receptors.
So the one on the right, as I'm looking at it here, that's in gray, is actually what the coronavirus spike protein is, right? At a tiny zoomed in level. And then
That's
you've
exactly
also
right.
you've given us some material to work with to fold into something that would bond with that.
Yeah, so in the beginner puzzle, which you're looking at, the grayed out portion is a piece. It's just a small piece of the coronavirus spike protein.
Okay.
And this is the piece that binds the human receptor. And the part in color that you have there, the two helices, that's actually the part of the human receptor that the coronavirus binds to. So what you're looking at is the natural interface, the natural recognition between the virus and the human receptor.
Okay. So with this puzzle, what I would be trying to achieve would be I would be trying to make some sort of form that could be synthesized in a lab that could perhaps attach to this coronavirus protein even better than a human cell was. Is that the idea?
That's exactly right. In this beginner puzzle, we kind of give you the starting point of what happens. But yeah, the idea is that hopefully you could redesign this human side protein into something that might be more useful, that might stick to the coronavirus protein tighter.
Okay. And we're seeing there are little spheres in here. Those are sort of gaps, which are undesirable but don't necessarily ruin everything. We have two helices. It was 2 days ago, and I took biology last in freshman year of high school and never took chemistry. So, like, we have two helices. We have hydrophobic. I'm going to call these arms, but you can correct me and tell me what they actually are. And the hydrophobic stuff wants to be inside the proteins so that it's not exposed to water on the outside. And then we have blue arms, which want to be outside.
That is the scientific term, Jorbs, is arms.
Arms? Yeah, that's cool. We don't have any of the planks. That's the scientific. These are called sheets, right?
Sheets, yeah.
And these sort of structure the protein, make it more stable, and you can see hydrogen bonds forming between the ones in the coronavirus protein, but we don't have any of our own to make hydrogen bonds with here.
Yeah, so you can actually make those helices into sheets if you want to. Your modes tab down in the bottom left gives you access to the structure. And just so you know, we're still a little bit lagged behind here. But,
okay, let me share my screen directly to you then, and that way you'll be seeing it straight away. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're already figuring out. Just right click and you can assign it to be a sheet.
Can I select everything at once?
What you can do is assign something to be a sheet and then kind of click and drag and paint along. And you'll notice that because you're going from a helix to a sheet, you've just made a sheet in a helical kind of shape.
Yeah, I definitely have.
If you go back to the pull mode, which is your kind of standard mode, then right click on that and hit ideal SS for the secondary structure on the sheet. It'll sheetify it.
Okay. So we have taken our helix and made a sheet. Can I make two sheets? I don't see.
Yeah, and I suggest maybe breaking up that one sheet into two. So maybe turning the middle into a bit of a loop. It's a bit long for one sheet. And you might need a couple pieces of the loop to give you enough length to move it around.
So you start us off with certain pieces, but we don't necessarily have to use only those. We can construct something.
Yeah. I mean, we're designing here. We are the human designers, the clay sculptors. So whatever shape you think is best.
Oh my gosh, it just gave me a rank down. I'm very upset. You can see the other people's scores. We are 4,329th right now, but we can do better. We can do better.
Big
So
move.
I wanna bring these 3 sheets into parallel with each other. How would I do that?
So probably the best way is if you right click on the loops that you made, you can cut at the loops, and that separates it out kind of physically, so that if you, I think, left click on the sheet, you'll get a little purple arrow that you can then move things around.
Oh, it like really cut it apart though. Uh-oh. Are you impressed by my performance so far?
This is pretty good.
Okay. Oh my gosh, they put a line through my score. What does that mean?
Oh yeah, so because you cut it apart, the cuts aren't really like a valid scientific solution right now.
Okay.
But while we're still kind of sketching this out in the early game, I think that's fine.
Why can't I like place a pivot point? I want to place a pivot point here and then pull this around the pivot.
So go ahead and left click on the sheet, and you can click on that tool and drag that around. I think right click will translate it and left click will rotate it, or click and drag. It takes a little getting used to manipulating this stuff in 3D space.
We talked on our call about getting this set up in VR. I think it would be so much fun.
Yeah, we're looking into it. VR is surprisingly hard to make, or maybe not surprising at all.
Can't close.
You can also
I feel like my view controls stopped working and I can't work out why.
View controls.
Right click, left click. Okay, I got it. I was just using them wrong.
Yeah, you can also press Q while hovering over something to center that as
Gotcha.
the center of the camera. Yeah.
Okay. Let's turn this into a sheet as well.
We're going full sheets.
Well, no, I've got one helix
One
over
helix?
there.
Yeah.
And then we go right click, pull node, right click, idealize structure. What would happen if I like wiggled it now?
Go ahead and give it a try.
So on top of like manually editing stuff, you're also set up with algorithms that will move things around for you. And you set me up with a few of those.
Yeah.
But probably we want to get everything sort of in place first, right?
Yeah, those are better for refinement. So at this point, you're trying to get the sheets to line up kind of sideways with each other, I think. Form those sweet, sweet hydrogen bonds. I think the best way to do this is probably going to be, now that you have cuts in your loops, using that.
Close the cuts again. But yeah, I can make cuts.
Yeah, making cuts between the sheets is probably the easiest way to move them around. Then using that move tool with the purple arrow. It's a bit tricky, but it's much more reliable than using your actual pull tool and just dragging things everywhere.
Okay.
Because if you right click on that arrow, you can translate the entire thing. Or right click and drag.
Everything though, so I must not have the cut in yet.
Yeah, so if you add the cut, they'll become separate pieces.
Segment is locked. How do I unlock the segment? Unfreeze structure, cut. Oh, shift left click is locking it.
Yeah, shift left click is to freeze it in place.
Okay, I'm almost there. How do I get the how do I get the thing that moves it back again? Why can I only do that when it's frozen? There it is. Okay. So I've unfrozen it, but I don't have a cut.
It's a very complex control scheme.
It's not complex. It's just like you have to learn which hotkeys you want. For whatever reason, when I'm left clicking on a cut, instead of opening up the thing that moves stuff, there it is. Instead of opening up the thing that moves stuff, it was closing the cut. So I have to click on the one that's just outside the cut, I guess. There.
Yeah.
So we got that. Ish. We want another cut here and move this back here. Oh yeah. Now we're cruising.
For folks in chat who are familiar with Zachtronics games, I think of Fold.it as very similar to Zachtronics in that it's sort of an open problem where you just have an arsenal of tools and you can do whatever it takes to get to some solution. Like Space Chem or Opus Magnum. I see it kind of in that genre. Which is to say that Fold.it is really for very hardcore players.
Well, the easy problems are like very satisfying and not difficult at all. It's like you have to work out how to use, great hydrogen bonding. Look at that. You have to work out how to use like one control and then put stuff together. But this is my first time trying to edit everything at once, trying to turn some structure into some other structure completely. That's a bit more. So let's try making rubber bands and wiggling this together.
Yeah, do you remember how to do that?
I do.
Sleepy Lime asks, why are you trying to move the structure around? What's the goal? Maybe Brian can more accurately describe what we're trying to do here. The gist is Jorbs is moving the more colorful protein to try to connect it up with the gray kind of locked out protein, which is the coronavirus, to try to build something that will stick on there nicely. And we're making sheets because they form hydrogen bonds with each other, and it's a very stable way to connect up the protein.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. What we're doing is we're optimizing the score at the top, which is actually it's a pretty sophisticated energy function. That we typically run it on supercomputers and generate, like tens of thousands of these structures at a time. But it turns out that Fold.it players are actually pretty good at doing that just by hand. But the goal is just to optimize this score, and this score tells you how stable your system is. So that includes how likely your protein is to fold up correctly, and then also how likely that protein is to stick to the target. So the name of the game is just to push that score as high as you can.
Do you remember what's the hotkey to remove rubber bands? Control
It's R without the control.
Just R.
Just R. Yep.
What shall I do with this helix? Nothing?
That's a good question. So how are you thinking of trying to stick this thing onto the coronavirus there? You want the sheets going in first or the helix in first?
I was going to try to drop some sheets in. I see some sheets here that I can make some hydrogen bonds with. I don't really have any reason for the helix to be here right now. I just wanted to try out the sheets because this looks like a nice little sheet place.
Yeah, so one thing that you could do is cut off the helix and move it off to the side. And if you go into your behavior tab and uncheck enable cut bands, I think it says, that'll essentially make it so the helix is no longer part of our problem and we can deal with it later.
So behavior tab, uncheck. Ooh, is this the right place?
You don't even have that, yeah. All right, forgive me for this, but go into your menu for a second. we're going to go into the general options, and we need to turn on the advanced GUI.
Oh no. It's more
Yeah.
advanced?
It's going to be a little overwhelming. Just don't open your view tab because there are a lot of options.
Remote control. Can Twitch chat remote control my
I was
folding?
looking into that for a while. I still might set that up at some point. I think it would be awesome to do Twitch Plays Fold It.
That would be sweet. They would not make any. They would not be good.
You'll get start nines just repeating.
So back in behavior, I need to unenable cut bands.
So now, while you have that helix cut off, it's essentially not part of your protein. And you can just move it off to the side and not worry about it. And we'll just focus on the sheets.
Why isn't it moving off to the side when I click on this? I don't understand.
Try right click and drag.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. So now I can just focus on our sheets. So this is basically terminating now. Definitely like navigating in three-dimensional space and understanding what you're actually looking at is something.
It's tricky, yeah. The veterans usually recommend to constantly be moving your camera perspective around.
Sure.
Kind of like how potters just keep spinning the pot so they get
that
it
makes sense.
smoothly from every angle, yeah.
Do you have a camera mode that just does that automatically? It could be fun. My score is currently minus 788,000, which I don't think is very good.
You have not yet reached negative 9999, so I think you're okay.
That's true.
But yeah, I think that's an option we were looking into.
How come this sheet that I've made here is curved? Is there a way to straighten my sheet out?
Yes, right click and hit ideal SS again. And that'll straighten it out.
Okay, so I can straighten all of these.
They probably just got bent when you were pulling on them.
Yeah. And now I sort of just need to pull this one to here. And to do that, we did this in one of the earlier problems, I could freeze the other three.
Yeah.
And then pull this in.
Should probably work. Once you get it roughly aligned, I wonder if you have a recipe in your cookbook that can help you finish that out.
Sounds like fun. So my cookbook is here, and you actually had me throw some more recipes in this, which I haven't seen before. We have some example ones. AFK 3.1 blue fuse cut and wiggle everything. Cut and wiggle everything. That sounds intense.
Everything.
Can I move the coronavirus stuff? It's not moving, right? It's fixed.
It's fixed. You can move everything else around it.
Sure.
Which, I don't know if you've studied much physics, but I think it's about the same.
Gotcha.
All about your frame of perspective.
So this is a recipe. So if you were doing folding at home, you would have a program on your computer that sort of just ran algorithms on proteins to try to fold them to optimize a score, I assume similar to this score, or maybe even exactly the same as this score.
Yeah,
in the same sort of
basically
environment.
the same. Yeah.
And the idea here is that we have human player input, so I can look at things and be the grand designer and be like, I want to achieve this and start getting us in that direction. But then we also do have the algorithms that are the sort of thing folding at home might be doing without your input, and we can use those when we want. So I can be like a very smart person who definitely knows what's going on and press that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what it's doing. Oh, it's currently wiggling the helix.
Yeah, if you want to check
now
this...
it's pulled everything apart.
If you want to check the show script commands, you can see what it's doing. But I think what it's doing is messing up your protein.
Yeah. And then we can stop this and we can press undo. Right?
Oh, that's the
Cancel?
easy way out.
Oh, you don't want to do that? Do you see any of these that you think would be good to be using here?
Let me take a look. Quick fix sounds promising. I'll be honest, I'm still learning the recipe metagame myself.
Keep sheet backbounds.
Let me ask you this, Jorbs. What is more complex at this point, Fold.it or Slay the Spire?
Fold.it by like miles. Not close. Although, so as a person, I know that your research is largely about people learning complex systems, right, in complex games. As a gamer, when I come to a system like this, the thing I'm mostly looking at to start with is like, what's the complex thing? What's the thing that I could be better at than, not necessarily even somebody else, but then like me before I practiced it? Where are the places to improve myself? And when I look at this, it seems not that complicated to understand where the improvements are going to come from. It just seems like I haven't made them all yet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's pretty clear to see that what you need to do. And it's just a matter of choosing a design, choosing your helices and your sheets.
When you look at the top designs that human players make, how different do they tend to be from one another?
That's a great question for Brian.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, no, that's the cool thing about Fold.it, is that when you ask 100 people to do something, they do it 100 different ways. So what we find is that when we ask Fold.it players to design proteins, we get wildly different stuff. And this is the main advantage, I think, of Fold.it over other design methods for proteins, is just that Fold.it players will try some really, really crazy stuff. And a lot of times it's stuff that we would not think to try in a lab. And a lot of times also it is productive. It's, these are valid. I'm not sure that the sheets I'm looking at right now need a little bit of work. But this is definitely a new, novel solution that I have not seen before, for sure.
Well, okay, if we get it above 100,000 points, that could be a good thing. But for right now, that's just a way of saying that it's very easy to fail at something in a new way.
Well, but I mean, that's what makes Fold.it better than Folding at home or Rosetta at home. That they're all running the same algorithm, or
Right.
A handful of algorithms. Players can do a whole bunch of things and actually see the shape, right? It's like when you look at actual proteins that are folded in nature, they have a kind of beauty to them, and humans can see that beauty where computers can't.
That makes sense to me. I want to do a... What are my actions? I want to do a shake. Stop. Cancel. Canceling isn't going to undo that all, is it?
No,
It's not
no,
gonna
it won't.
undo it all. Good. Would like to do a shake and then try to wiggle these together more manually. It's really interesting to me. And something, so I don't know everything about this at all, but one
Neither
thing
do I.
that occurs to me as I look at this is that if I make something that's going to bond, like we're going to put it in a human and it's going to bond with something, it may bond with other things too. And so I imagine that getting like a novel solution that's very different from other solutions might lead to something that could be differently useful because it did other things differently when you're looking at the other interactions that it has in practice.
Yeah, well, you've hit on something really interesting there, in the off-target effects. And this is exactly why we like proteins, possibly as a therapeutic, as a type of medicine. Most of the medicines that exist today are small molecules, so they're much smaller than a protein. But this also means that they're much more promiscuous. They're not as able to be as specific. So that's why when you take a drug, it tends to have just pages of side effects, is because this small molecule is not only target, but it's binding to some other target, somewhere else, and many other targets in the body. Because proteins are a little bit more complicated, they have these very elegant shapes, and they're larger. They can make much more specific interactions. So I think you could actually, I think the benefit here is that we could design a protein that interacts with the coronavirus and that only interacts with the coronavirus, and would be relatively inert anywhere else.
Does natural protein design have like evolutionary things where a design that can interact with lots of other things tends to stick around because of evolutionary pressures? Or is it more like, I don't know. Does that make sense, what I just said? And then when I come and make a human one, I'm like creating something completely from scratch for a unique situation, so it's different.
No, absolutely. Right. That's when we think about how proteins evolve, we normally consider that they have to be useful the entire time that they're evolving. So you can't just have a brand new protein come Deus Ex Machina out of nowhere to solve some, brand new problem. More likely is you're going to have gradual changes from a protein that normally does one thing, but then it finds that small changes can let it start to do something else a little bit differently, and then it accumulates changes and evolves over time to acquire a brand new function. Protein design, of course, is we're not limited by that kind of gradual process. So we can design from scratch. We can design pretty much anything we want to do anything that we
want.
So, Jorbs, I'm noticing that for a brief moment, your score was above 0.
I know. I got it ready to deploy, and now we're gonna slide it in, see what happens.
Although we have not yet reached the score that we started with.
Oi. That's a tall ask. That's a tall ask. The entire point of doing this, we just talked about this. The entire point of a human doing this is that we can create proteins which are non-viable as intermediate steps. And so we can create something new. If this was always viable, what would even be the point?
I wonder if your sheets are looking good. Maybe we want to run another script and see if chat has any good questions. I think the remix one might be nice.
Run the remix. All right, I'm just gonna rubber band this in, and then in our cookbook we have a remix.
Yeah, I think it's the bottom one. I'll be honest, I have no idea what it does, but
okay.
I'm sure it'll massage your protein in a really nice way.
Well, I trust you.
Hello, Socrates.
Yeah, I've been struggling with this a little bit, so I haven't been looking at chat at all. How's chat doing?
They're asking a lot of philosophical questions about promiscuity, I think.
That sounds like Twitch chat. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Hey, Firebath.
Why not design a small molecule? So I don't even know what that means, but you may be able to respond to that.
Yeah, Brian, are you looking in chat? Do you see any questions that are actually insightful?
How many people play this game on a given month is a nice question.
So I think in general we have about 50 to 100 people playing per month, and in this month it's spiked up to 300 active players with like a few thousand signups every day. In general, it's the top tiers and the wild ideas that are giving us really interesting proteins, but every bit helps. So it's been great to have a new wave of players coming in.
And it's completely free to play. You just go to fold.it and download it. jump in?
We're trying to get on the Steam, get a Steam page, so hopefully that happens soon.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. If we built something that was put into actual practical use, could we name it like Dig Relic Dig or something? The dig protein.
There is
One of the best parts of playing Fold is you can name a protein anything you want.
Do
I think we've had a Pikachu protein, right?
Do you respect
There's-
that name if you like actually build it in the lab?
Yes, there is a so in the science world there is a database of protein crystal structures, and we've happened to solve a couple of protein crystal structures for designs from Fold players. In the annals of science now, a protein named Ferrodog Diesel, and also one named Fold.it 3 and Fold.it 1 and Peak 6, and all of those are named by Fold.it players.
Cool.
And those are official scientific names at this point.
What if you don't bind to the entire thing, but only enough of it so that it prevents the break-in? So my understanding as someone coming to this game as a player is that my goal in binding with this coronavirus is I want to bind to the part of it that is actually binding with a human. So like binding to this side of it over here doesn't actually do anything, because if you're thinking about the real world, that's like not a relevant part of the protein to be binding with. So I want to be doing that. And I want to be trying to cover it as fully as possible so that it can't bind to things accidentally once my protein's attached to it. And I want to be covering it as like snugly as possible so that they can click together if they pass each other. That's my understanding as a player.
Brian, is that about scientifically right?
That is all perfectly correct. Yes, the only goal we have here is to bind to the coronavirus in a way that disrupts normal binding. So if you bind to the wrong side of the coronavirus, that's not very helpful, because then the coronavirus will just kind of carry on like usual and latch onto the human cell and infect cells. So we want to, right where you're targeting looks perfect.
I like to think of it like a reverse mosquito. It's got a, what do you call it, like a snout? It's proboscis, something like that. And, it wants to spit its virus stuff into us. So we're binding to that, pretending to be a human cell so that it'll spend its genetic load on something else.
Gotcha. What's the point of the blue arms? Actually, what's the point of the arms in general? Why do we have
Why
them?
have arms?
Yeah.
The blue is Brian, can you say this easier?
Sure. So proteins have arms. This is a science fact. There are 20 different types of arms, but broadly speaking, we can divide them into orange arms and blue arms. And that reflects how well they behave in water. So we have to remember that the protein that you're spinning around on your screen is completely surrounded by water. The orange arms do not like water. So a protein will like to bury those orange arms in the interior of the protein, in the protein core, so that they don't have to interact with the water surrounding the protein. And then the blue arms, they like water. They like water a lot. So we tend to put those blue arms on the outside of the protein so that they can interact with all the water that surrounds the protein.
So how are your sheets looking there, Jorbs? Think we got something stable?
I mean, we could improve them. We could improve them. I've been fixated on this actual zone where I'm docking and wondering if I want to pull it out, and maybe I want to actually recreate this structure where there's like, it's not one sheet, there are like 4 small sheets. I'm wondering if I could just recreate that in sort of a, put something inside that exactly.
One thing that I like to do when I'm playing is change up the view options so that I can see what's going on a little bit better.
Okay.
So let's take a quick dive in here, and it's a bit overwhelming, but down in the bottom right, we want to turn the dark background on. Gotta love our dark mode.
Oh yeah, that's much nicer.
Yeah. I think there's also a show outlines. I'm not seeing it, but don't worry about it.
Wait, there are a bunch of buttons or not
it's
even?
right above.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Let's see. On the right side, show bondable H, but don't show fast. And maybe turn off voids. I don't think we need to worry about seeing the voids. That's in the upper left.
Gotcha.
So we can play around with this, but this gives us kind of a different view of what to focus on here.
There's a really cool video that I watched that Josh linked me to that talks through the process once a protein is folded and actually looks decent, and you like code DNA to teach a protein to build this way, and then you build it out of E. coli, and then you isolate it from E. coli and put it in a vial. And then my understanding from talking with you is that that's something that would be used intravenously in a hospital, like for a patient. But I'm not sure exactly how you do stuff from there.
Right. So the one disadvantage of proteins over small molecules is that proteins are a little bit difficult to administer. It's difficult to get them into the bloodstream. So you can't you put them in a pill, then your stomach would just digest them. You would just eat the pill. But if you could deliver something like this intravenously, you're right. Possibly you could also do something intranasally, so like as an aerosol, especially since we are trying to block interactions between the virus and a human receptor that's found on the epithelium of the lungs, and it might be this might be something that you could just take intranasally.
Oh, looks like we have Synord25 in chat. Haven't seen them since DDR Jake streamed Fold It a couple of years ago as a punishment, actually. So it's great to see Synord back here. Jorbs, is this a punishment for you?
No, this is fun. I'm getting better. I don't tend to be great at spatial reasoning. That's something that I'm not like incredible at, but I definitely enjoy it. I'm okay at it.
Your sheets are looking a little better.
My brother is one of those people who can just sit down and like do a puzzle or can solve a Rubik's Cube in a few seconds, and like learned 15 different algorithms to do it for fun on top of working out the first one that let him solve it. And so I've always felt a little bit inadequate compared to that, but I do enjoy this stuff. I'm trying to build this structure to dock the way I want it. And I can sort of make it happen, but not quite.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
These puzzles take hours usually.
Is there is there a way to undo all of my cuts all at once? Like just one button I can remove all cuts from the structure with?
So let's take a look at one of your cuts. Do you still have any?
This one here. This is a cut. Well, I just closed it.
Yeah. Did you?
I think one of the algorithms closed the cut that took the helix away.
Okay.
So the helix has come back again.
So if your cuts are blue, they're too far away to close. But if they're yellow, you can click on them and close them. You somehow made your sheets pink. And I'm not even sure how. So
So I have that, and this works here.
yeah, what is happening that's making it pink?
I think when I changed the color scheme, it changed
Oh, okay. But it's like flashing, like pink and white or something.
Probably because I'm about to hit a high score. It's probably like
Yeah.
setting you up for the big moment. What is going on with this? How do I just completely delete this?
What are you trying to delete?
I have a loop connecting these two, and I don't know why.
Oh, that cut point, the blue cut point there?
No, right in here. You see this?
Oh.
There's a loop connecting these two sheets. This loop should connect to that sheet, which then should connect to the sheet up here, but I like skipped it. Maybe I have the sheets out of order. Maybe that's my problem.
Looks like it, yeah.
And there, this should be a loop. And then, well, I'm not sure I'm gonna fix that right now. My sheets do not zigzag. Maybe that's the solution that nobody thought of, though, putting the sheets out of order. Everybody's tried putting them in order. And
I'm still confused by these pink sheets. Somehow Jorbs unlocked Watcher mode for the sheets. These are looking a little bit nicer.
shall we fix this? I'm starting
The
to get
second
the
from the left
controls too, which is pretty empowering. Like actually
Yeah, the
understanding
controls
how
take
to
a
do the
long,
things
long
that
time
I'm
to figure out.
doing.
So what happens after people finds a solution to this? What happens is that Brian will make their solution in the lab, and if it works, we will have designed a drug to reduce how bad the infection is.
Well, I just want to slow you down real quick there, Josh.
All right,
Anything-
I'm spreading misinformation. I'm sorry.
this really is the very first step of drug discovery. So what would happen if you found a solution that looks really good to us on the computer? We would take it into the lab. We would synthesize your protein, and then we can test whether your protein actually binds to the spike protein from coronavirus. And we don't actually have to work with live coronavirus to do that. We can just work with the pieces of coronavirus to see if the pieces stick together like they should. If we do find something that binds to the coronavirus spike protein, that would become a drug candidate. And there you would still have to, that drug would still have to go through a lot of rigorous testing for safety and efficacy in animals and then in people before it could ever be released as a drug. But yes, it is. This is how drugs are made. So this is the first step.
Fold it. This is how drugs are made. That's a great tagline.
How much do we know about all of the, like, could you use fold it with a database of all of the proteins that are in a person to see if this interacts with other proteins as well? Just scan through them all?
That's a great question. We are a little bit limited by the amount of data we have about all of the proteins in a person. We don't know what their structures look like, so that becomes difficult. And also modeling the interaction between two proteins is not as straightforward as it might appear in this case. Here we seem to have two pretty well-behaved proteins that seem to have well-defined structures that we can target, but a lot of proteins and animals and well, any protein is dynamic, and proteins are always changing shape. Their surfaces change. They can fold and misfold. Lots of weird stuff can happen in biology. So virtual screening of proteins against the human proteome is a pie in the sky kind of real down the line idea. We're getting better, but I think that's still pretty difficult for us.
Gotcha. Wasn't there a rotate tool that would like
So there's tweak.
turn it
if
left
you,
to right? Oh, tweak. That's what it was called, right?
Yeah, if you right click on the sheet, you get a tweak option. But it's really just gonna like
Oh, but
flip
that
it
flips
inside and
this.
outside.
That's not what I
Yeah.
want with this case. I literally just want to like take my hand and turn it.
Yeah,
like
just
180
left
degrees.
click on it.
Yep.
Just left click and use that. This, yeah.
But I need to make
You-
cuts to do it first.
Yeah.
So cut here, left click here, right click
Now
there.
you're a pro.
That's still not what I want though. Well, is this working? Is that what I want? Maybe that's what I want. I think it is what I want. Oh, I think I did it. And now, I actually maybe do want to tweak this. Tweak. Flip.
And actually, if you pull on those purple orbs on the side, I think you straighten the sheet out a little bit.
Hey! Things are happening.
There are a lot of tools to this game. And remember, this is only Ascension 0, effectively.
Oh yeah, this is easy mode. Well, the more complicated puzzle has the coronavirus the same, right? It's just you don't start me off with anything, but I undid everything that you started me off with anyway.
Yeah.
Didn't I? So
Essentially, yeah.
I'm making things harder than they maybe need to be.
And we haven't even gotten into more advanced tools like the Rama map.
I'm sorry, what?
I think I made an implicit promise to Susume that I wouldn't bring up the Rama map here, though, so I probably shouldn't, because it's super advanced.
Well,
Yeah, she's saying no in chat.
You have to show me it now. You can't.
Alright, I don't think we should spend too long on it, but down in your actions bar on the left, there is a button called a Rama map. And I'll let you
actions, there is a Rama map.
Yeah. So have fun with that.
A Rama Chandran map. What's out here? Segment is locked. Glycine. Is this an idea? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we can probably put this away now. This is a bit much.
I liked the blue in the top left. Those are pretty. Ooh, structure mode, idealize, pull mode, idealize. I want to get rid of my rubber bands. I want this to connect to here. I want this to connect to here. I want this to connect to here. And you here. And these aren't connected at all for some reason. Or maybe I have a cut there. Oh, I have a cut there. Another cut. Will Jorbs save us from the virus? Here's the deal. I'm hoping my community will save us from the virus so I don't have to. That's why I'm showing you all this right now. So that you'll do it. I'll just keep playing Slay the Spire.
What he's really saying is that you're smarter than him. So
yeah,
you can do
exactly. It. And I will give 5 gift subs to anybody who cures coronavirus.
Really? 5?
Yep. I bet there's I bet there are
so
awards
you're saying,
of millions of dollars or whatever out there, right? From somebody
else. You're saying the
who
cure
isn't
for
me.
corona is worth 5 gift subs.
At least. At least 5 gift subs.
That sheet is very bent.
No, it's beautiful.
It kind of looks like a happy face at the right angle. Or maybe it's crying. I can't tell.
It might be crying. Can't close cut while another action is running. Can't close ends too far apart.
Oh, so here, let me teach you a cool trick. You've got that cut point right there that's a bit too far away to close, right?
Yep.
Freeze the ends of the sheets on either side of that loop.
Yep.
And now right-click the loop and go to local wiggle on the right. I think it just says wiggle, actually. That rubber band might be getting in your way right now. But essentially what we're trying to do... Oh, and actually, if you go to your behavior tab, I think we need to turn on cut points again. If we haven't already. Yeah, there we go. Turn that on. Now you can click that yellow bit and close it up.
Sweet. Are we ready to deploy? It looks basically perfect.
Yeah, Brian, I think it looks great.
Oh, sorry, I was off. Oh yeah, no, this is wow.
This made it worse.
Wow.
Oh, because I did the enable cut bands and stuff. So no. Look. We just drop this into the coronavirus. Where's the spot that is connecting to? Right there.
You know, I'm pretty sure if we drop
zoom
this...
out?
Mouse wheel?
Oh, my mouse wheel is so slow. Great hydrogen bonding.
I think if you hold down the middle mouse and move your mouse up and down...
Oh, that's the one that I was looking for. Cool, thanks.
There are so many hotkeys and shortcuts and everything for this game.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
And I bet when you're playing it, it's like super easy, but when somebody else is asking you what to do, it's somewhat complicated to remember.
I think this game is tricky for the people who have been doing it for 10 years.
Like in terms of remembering how to do stuff?
Well, just in terms of it's I don't know, there's a lot going on. One of our best players, Susume, is learning things every day and pasting in our Discord things that she's learned. So even after I'm sure you're still learning things about Slay the Spire. So it's kind of the same thing.
Today I learned that I shouldn't go to 0 health. Keeps on killing me. Why isn't this moving?
What?
Hold on. Why? I have 2 cuts here. I have... So it's like, it's loose. Why can't I move that? I guess like this I can move it? Ah, that's what we want.
Yeah.
Do you have like achievements, like little badges, like created a lab deployed protein sort of thing?
If you want to go into the menu, I think we can... what achievements we have and haven't earned yet.
Puzzle menu?
Puzzle menu. Main menu. Achievements. There you go. So you've got some stuff.
Was OP in chat during a busy time? Authored or was in a group that authored a paper?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, there was at least one paper where the fold.it players together formed one single co-author. They are now known as players, F.
Does that mean I'm players, F, or am I not part of that publication because I wasn't playing at the time?
I think that's up to you. I think you can be part of
me.
players, F if you want.
All right.
That's a true story, by the way. You can find that paper.
I want to restart. Can I restart? Will you hate me?
No, that's up to you.
I feel like I understand how to do this now, and I can do it much better. So
and look, your score's already at 11,000.
Oh yeah, that's a good start.
That was probably the best move you've made all day. Sorry, that was...
Yeah, well, That's the natural human protein. The natural human protein forms a pretty good score. Guys, I have to head out. The latest round of the coronavirus fold-it puzzle just closed, so we have to I have to take a quick look, and we're a little behind on the follow-up puzzle. But rest assured, there will be a new follow-up coronavirus puzzle coming shortly.
Sweet.
Jorbs, thank you so much for
Yeah, thanks for jumping on
playing
and
fold-it.
explaining stuff to us.
Hopefully Josh will stick around and out here.
Thanks,
and I'm
Brian.
sure he has some questions. Yes.
Yeah. Take care.
Can you also create a small molecule puzzle for Corona? Does this have small molecule stuff, or is it just proteins?
That's a great question for Brian, who just left.
Who just left. Whoops.
Oh, so how about this? If maybe one of the Fold.it players can drop a link to our Discord in chat, ask that on the Fold.it Discord, and we can answer it then.
Gotcha. I can change what arms these have, right? Pick side chain. Oh my gosh! Oh no! That's not
here's
what
the
I
thing.
wanted at all.
This menu that you have right here is just picking the shape of the arm, not the arm itself.
Oh my gosh!
But you can also pick which arm you have.
Is that like a Decepticon? This one? MTT, MMT.
The bars are also showing you how proportionally likely they are to exist that way in nature. So that's like a rarity chart.
TNM damn thing. Thanks so much for the Twitch Prime. You sounded like you were interested in how people learn games. Do you want to ask me anything about learning Slay the Spire or learning this while I struggle to make this do what I want it to do? I
probably have a million questions for you. I was not prepared for that.
Well, do you have one that is prepared?
How
do I escape this menu, by the way?
Just press escape. Gotcha. Yeah. And actually, so if you press 4, you'll go into design mode, and then you can actually change the arms if you want to click on the arms and change them.
Gotcha. 1, 2, 3.
So I guess what I'll ask is this. When you are actively trying to learn how to play Slay the Spire, if you ever actively try to learn, what does that process look like?
Actively trying to learn, like not playing a run, but sort of reviewing or doing math or
maybe playing a run.
Sure. I'm trying to improve actively. So I think
or do you?
Well, I think that in a game like Slay the Spire, there's enough complexity that you reach a point where your intuition is more valuable than any math that you can really do. And I think you cap out at the ability to do math a lot faster than you cap out at the ability to intuit things in Slay the Spire. Because you can't do all the math. You'll never ever be able to do all the math. You can't sit on floor 1 and be like, well, the chances of these things happening over the next 50 floors are exactly 13.1%. That's not an equation that you'll ever know all of the unknowns for. You can never solve that equation. But what you can get better and better and better at is like, okay, I think that the chance of me winning with a Pommel Strike Infinite is slightly higher than the chance of me winning with a Sword Boomerang Strength Scaling deck based on my experience. And I think that training that intuition is something that can continue for a very long time, and that even now, with how many hours I have in the game, I'm still training that intuition and it's still getting better. It's really hard to not have biased opinions with your intuition, because humans are very bad at pattern recognition. We're very good at seeing patterns, but we're not very good at seeing the true ones. And so usually when I'm trying to improve at Slay the Spire, I'm trying to monitor my intuition, and I'm listening to what it says, and then I'm double checking. Like it says, this deck can do pretty well in the Gremlin Mob fight, and I'm like, okay, so I play the Gremlin Mob fight and I draw pretty well and do pretty well, and I'm like, oh, my intuition seems okay there. I play the other fight, I think I'm going to do well, I don't do well, and then I like have a reflection moment where I'm like, did I draw particularly poor cards and that's why I did poorly? Or was it that my intuition was actually wrong about this situation? That's
so you're looking
mostly it.
actively for ways to evaluate your intuition. You're looking for specific fights and specific objectives.
Yeah, if my intuition says something, I'm gonna test it and see if it's right, as well as I can. Obviously, it's not the easiest thing in the world to test that.
Yeah, and the
I'm
tricky
going
part,
to try.
the tricky part seems to be that the feedback isn't immediate, right? The fight you might need to test it might be 3 or 4 down the line after like 3 or 4 hallways or something.
Absolutely true. Yep.
So,
But everything's happening all the time in Run of Slay the Spire, and so if I have like 500 different things that I'm testing at the same time as I'm going through a run, and I'm just monitoring my intuition constantly and seeing if the things that I expect to happen or not, I'll get some false positives and some false negatives, but I'll also slowly pick up things that are real over the course of different runs. Like, hey, Wave of the Hand wasn't as good in the beginning of Act 2 as I thought it was. Let's come back to that again next time and see if that's like a hypothesis I have right now, is maybe Wave of the Hand isn't so great in this sort of situation. And if I'm ever in that situation again, I'm going to test that again and slowly become more and more certain.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're describing is the basics of exploratory learning.
Right? So nothing particularly groundbreaking or anything, right? But just doing that. Pappy Man, thanks so much for the 2 months.
I hope at some point I get another chance to pick your brain about this, because I'm doing some research now on essentially how do we make the learning of Fold It as easy as the learning of Slay the Spire. And not to say that learning how to play Slay the Spire is easy, just that Fold is very complex. And so what do we do to make good tutorials, to make good levels?
Mm-hmm.
It's a tricky problem. But with experts like you to look at as inspiration, I think research will be chugging along there.
Level design's tough, like user
It
interface
is.
design and stuff.
Yeah.
That's difficult. You hire lots of people who are really good at it. That's my opinion about that.
Yeah, the problem with Fold It is so far the NIH and NSF and all of the big corporations, they've rejected our grant funds to make things look prettier and add more particles.
Sure.
I submitted a grant for more particles and it got rejected, unfortunately.
Why are the ends too far apart, game? They don't look too far apart.
Trying to close that cut point.
Yeah.
I think if you do that freeze both ends and wig trick, that'll probably get it for you.
Ooh, good clash clearing. I like that it tells me that I'm doing well regularly.
Yeah, that's nice. No, Socrates, I didn't actually put in a grant proposal for more particles. But I still, I am the only one actively working on making the UI better and adding more gameplay objectives and achievements. So it is difficult to, like the Slay the Spire team was only 2 people, right? So I feel like I know how they feel.
And I bet that a third of their resources went into designing the user experience.
Mm-hmm. Do you know the story, Jorbs, of what the intent system was before it was the intent system?
For sure. Well, it just wasn't the intent system.
Well, but then they also had a midway where you had to hover over someone's intent and then you would see literally everything that they were doing.
Oh no. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
That was when they were trying it out, but they didn't have the UI right.
Gotcha.
So
it's interesting because a lot of the problem here is that you're trying to get a software solution for the entire point of the program. Like the entire point is that humans are going to be better at machines at understanding what they need to do here. And so building a user interface that can show them what they need to do, like if you could do that, why would you need the humans? You could just use it to show the machine what to do, presumably.
Well, that was the same problem I was running into when I tried making a Slay the Spire AI. Is you end up trying to write everything. And but no, I think writing a good instruction manual or a good tutorial is different than actually learning the skills. Like you can make a curriculum for going to art school, but without putting in the thousands of hours, you're not going to actually like have the being good at art. I don't know if I'm making sense. It looks like you're kind of tapping out of this coronavirus puzzle.
I'm gonna
Maybe
train myself a little bit.
If you want to...
I just wanted to see the stars, Josh. I just wanted to see the stars. I wanted to see that my score was higher than the target.
You know, that's fair. That's very fair. So maybe we're tapping out.
Yeah,
maybe it's time to start wrapping up.
But I was super happy to show this off on stream.
Really cool thanks so much for.
It's the sort of thing that I could like. It's like the same sort of enjoyment that I got out of playing Zoo Simulator or The Sims or something, which is like there are just some nights where I want a game where I know that I'm creating something, but it's not so demanding that I can't be like maybe watching a show at the same time or something like that. And so this is something that I could actually genuinely just see myself enjoying playing off stream. And I hope that some of my viewers are interested by it too.
I hope so too. There's definitely a satisfaction to watching the numbers go up when you just run a recipe and let it go overnight, and it will give you thousands of points.
Yeah, that's something that we didn't get into is like some of those algorithms will go for a long time.
Yeah, and we have some programmer players who will write recipes and design algorithms, which is super cool. So yeah, let's if someone can drop that Discord invite in the chat again. And yeah, if you're interested in Fold It, just go to fold.it, and it's a great time. Hope to see you there.
Cool. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jorbs. And I'll be seeing you around in the streams. I did say Agumoshu at the start of the stream. I am like I do watch you, so
yeah.
It's a good time.
It's really cool. I was asked to work for the University of Washington Weather Research Lab or I don't know what exactly they're called, organizing their data a few years ago, and I was like, I don't really think I could do that well, and also I don't want to. so it didn't happen.
But also I don't
now
want to.
Now like a few years later I've like created the stream and stuff, and now like a lab from the UW is coming onto my stream. It's like, yes. Very cool. It's a very cool connection to have.
Yeah. Ha, gotcha.
I mean, it's cool that I was able to find some way to be of value to people who are doing something very real in this way.
Yeah,
I like that.
But I think even just your normal streams are of value to give people something to do while they're self-quarantining.
Yeah, hopefully, and hopefully, like I don't know, I try to occasionally, like once a day or something, take something that I'm doing and try to turn it into a real lesson about something else.
Yeah, it's good.
I sneak them in.
All right.
Well, thanks for joining me, and
yeah,
I'll talk to you again sometime, perhaps.
Yeah, talk to you later.
Bye. All right, chat. So, this was really fun. I'm very bad at it. Very bad at it, but this is really fun. I wonder what I'm meant to do here. You can use the shake tool. Oh, it's giving more algorithms to use. Look at that. I might play like Fold It in a 24-hour stream someday if I ever do another 24-hour stream. This is just like, I don't know, it's like Polybridge a little bit, except slightly more stressful. Sheets are a nightmare. If I worked with helices, it's way easier to keep the score high. Yeah, but I wanted to dock some sheets in there. I didn't want the helices. It wasn't about the score for me. It was the pride. I don't really understand how helices like bond with that shape, I guess. Well, there are lots of things that I don't understand. I probably just don't understand everything. No 24-hour streams, says Jinfezes. Jinfezes says we're not allowed 24-hour streams, unfortunately. Unlucky. It does a pretty good job, I think, with the intro puzzles. What would you like me to do here? Voids. Drag the backbone together. Remember to avoid clashes, shaking. We'll avoid the clashes. Yeah. Gosh. If I could do this in VR, I could just see myself like lying in bed in VR for 6 hours or something. Just moving proteins around. What makes you win this game? So there's a somewhat complicated scoring algorithm that's looking at how well the protein that you have folded holds together. And yeah, I don't know if I can explain it any better than that. And making that score go up is the point. As a biochem professor, this is a lot of fun to watch. You're a biochem professor with a penchant for Schadenfreude. Yeah. You once almost got into the top few whose proteins were going to be synthesized. That's super cool. It's super cool. The shape of the helix is based on the peptide bonds. They have a defined length and they're regularly spaced through the main chains. The oxygen and the hydrogen that are part of the repeated structure align to form a soft bond every turn. That's how the helix stabilizes. How does it connect to something else, though? If two helices are next to each other, are there extra bonds that are... Is the point that you can hide the water-averse arms between the helices? Is that why you care about having two of them next to each other? Helices and sheets connect to each other with loops. That's exactly it. All right. I was talking about when I start a game, what I want to do is I want to work out what are the things that I would improve at to get better at this game, right? And something that I'm learning about Fold It is that I don't even know how much I don't know yet. It looks simpler than it is, I think. And when you look into the really advanced tools, you start to recognize just how true that is. "24-hour streams are very unhealthy for streamers." It's true. It's true. It's both shielding hydrophobics, but atoms also just like to be close to each other. The science is the meta, and there is lots of meta to learn. Yeah, that makes sense. You don't need to know the science behind it to start, but you eventually learn what the science is because it is literally the meta. That makes sense. Caitlin wouldn't let me do a 24-hour stream. Caitlin would let me do a 24-hour stream. I generally don't do those anymore, though. 16 hours is enough for me. Can you see the colorblind mode from the settings? Yeah, for sure. How would I find that? General options, colorblind mode, go. Does that work a little bit better for you? There are a bunch of different types of color blindness, right? Like there are 3 different. Your eyes have 3 different types of receptors for color, and any of the 3 could be turned off, or like multiples of the 3. Something like that. There are 3 main types. Color blindness is the tricky thing. All right, cool. Well, this has been fun. Caitlin had a hell of a day at work today, and I'm going to go hang out with her. I'm going to be recording some Hearthstone Battlegrounds content with Nicolina this evening. I'm not going to be streaming that. I recorded some with Slissa yesterday morning, the day before yesterday morning, and that's going to go up on Thingamajig YouTube tomorrow, I think. So there'll be some Battlegrounds content on YouTube pretty soon. Hey, it's Dolphin's birthday. I'm gonna read Dolphin. Wish Dolphin a happy birthday. He was feeling sick yesterday. Hopefully he's doing better today. So that's all happening. I'm Jorbs. There are links to my Twitter and YouTube and Discord for you there. And this is fold.it, which you can get at fold.it. Pretty straightforward. Cool. I'll be back tomorrow with regular Slay the Spire stream time. Hope to see you there. Is tomorrow just a normal day for me? Oh, tomorrow Sasha's coming on to talk about writing after Spire. We might do Spire together too. We might play chess together. I don't know.